Hello nerds and nerdettes, welcome back to the channel where once again we have a new video for you guys, today being yet another top 5, but this time instead of talking about books we're going to go over 5 more things that I wish I knew before I got into collecting. I already did a previous video on this sort of topic which I'll leave up above, but as I think more and more and I see more and more new people join the hobby, the community, I just came up with 5 more really important tips that I've learned through the years that I think are valuable and worth kind of hearing. But before we get into the top 5, quick reminder as always that if you are looking for any books or would like to pre-order upcoming books, use the channel sponsor organicpricebooks.com. Use the discount code STAYNERDY for $2 off your order. Also, if you're ordering 3 or more books, you can use the discount code STAYNERDY, ship it together for 5% off that order, and it's a great way to help support the channel. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into my top 5 more things I wish I knew before I started collecting. First up at number 5 is going to be to focus on crossover books. This is mainly something that I think is worth talking about because of books like Batman, Ninja Turtles, or even those Marvel Top Cow crossover books that a lot of people were talking about as of recently. As we've learned through the years, some relationships, business agreements do end up souring or expiring in some form or fashion, and sometimes those crossover books will get one printing with no hope for a reprint in the future. So I definitely think it is important when collecting, if it is a crossover that you have your eyes on or a book that you have your eyes on that happen to include a crossover, then it is 100% worth focusing on. We may be running into an issue like that when it comes to Savage Avengers, possibly never getting a reprint now because of the inclusion of Conan, and Conan being at Titan Comics now. So I definitely think it is valuable to kind of keep your eye on these books because you never know not only how quickly they are going to go out of print, which we really don't know what the lifespan of any omnibus is really, but these crossovers typically have a lot of hype behind them. And we also never know if the ability for them to be reprinted will ever come up or ever happen. So I definitely think it's worth kind of hyper focusing on those books. If it is something that you want, put it to the top of the picking order just because you want to be better safe than sorry. And obviously, if you run into a tough spot where you are looking for that book or you really want that book in your collection, jumping onto the aftermarket with no hope for a reprint is definitely not a great idea as well. But that does wrap up number 5, so we'll jump to number 4. And coming in at number 4 is to create a priority list or to have priorities when collecting. Mainly what this is referencing is when we are kind of told books that are going to be releasing during the year or maybe even the month, there is a very obvious buzz or hotness, if you will, around a specific book. And 9 times out of 10, you kind of want to make that book a priority if it's one that you are already looking for because of the buzz that is around it. Some things to kind of look out for when it pertains to what books are going to be hot or what books are going to have a lot of buzz and be a hot commodity is obviously, as I touched on the last point, crossovers, things that are potentially not able to be reprinted, books that have been out of print for long periods of time and finally being reprinted, or characters that have a very massive popularity around them, such as Spider-Man and Wolverine for Marvel, or Superman, Batman, mainly Batman for DC. These books are definitely worth putting at the top of your priority because of the fact that they can sell out pretty quick. We are seeing a lot of omnibuses go out of print in 3 weeks time just because there's so much buzz around them. A book like Superior Spider-Man or Marvel Zombies, for example, that's a first time print and a reprint that hasn't been reprinted in a very long time. So those are examples of books that have a lot of buzz and a lot of focus around them and are worth kind of putting at the top of the list if it was something that you wanted to pick up. But that does wrap up number 4, so we'll jump to number 3. And number 3 is going to be that dust jackets and covers do not matter. This goes for standard edition covers, DM variant covers, whatever it may be. Obviously, I don't need to go into the whole spiel of that it doesn't affect the readability of the book, but also custom dust jackets and being able to produce one is definitely a thing. I see a lot of people paying a little extra money on the aftermarket because it has a specific dust jacket, and I'm here to tell you that it's not worth it. If you do get a dust jacket cover that you don't like, then you can just as easily replace it the same way I can replace the shirt that I'm wearing. You can replace the dust jacket that's on a book. I've also seen some people completely pass on a printing of a book because they don't like the cover or they aren't able to pick up the cover that they wanted. Again, because of custom dust jackets, you can easily replace that and repair that, or repair that. Not that you actually are repairing anything, but it's not worth completely passing on a book or paying extra money, whatever it may be, just to get the dust jacket that you want. Obviously, custom dust jackets do cost a little bit more on top of the book, but if it's that much of an eyesore, because I do know that aesthetics, spine, or covers do matter to people a lot, but if it is that much of an eyesore, you pay 30, 40 bucks for a custom DJ and you slap it on your book and you're a happy camper. Um, Definitely worth looking into and mentioning. I had no clue that custom dust jackets were a thing when I first got into collecting. I thought it was some type of unlearnable magic that I had no clue how it worked, but it is a thing. So if you have an issue with it, definitely look out for a custom dust jacket or a printer or a company that prints, whatever it may be. Just reach out to the community, and of course, we'll all help you out. But that does wrap up number 3, so we'll go ahead and jump into number 2. Number 2 is going to be that exclusives don't matter either. That's the second thing on the list I'm saying does not matter. The main thing that I'm kind of referencing there is when it comes to shopping in the wild or shopping at actual stores, not necessarily online, or maybe technically online, because you do have some of those indie books that have a different cover or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, it is the same content. You don't need to hunt down a certain exclusive or pay a extra amount for an exclusive. We see this a lot when it pertains to manga as well as some indie books. We saw it happen with the Deadly Class covers that were rare and hard to find. You see them going for higher amounts on the aftermarket. Also, you see it with manga when you get a Barnes & Noble exclusive that comes with a poster or something along those lines. It's not worth it. I've seen it before. I even mentioned it during my Tokyo Revengers review that the little poster or print or fancy cover is not worth the ridiculous amounts that they're going for on the aftermarket. If you can get it for the same price, then absolutely go for it. If it's the same price as a standard cover and you just happen to like it better, but do not go on the aftermarket and try and hunt down these exclusive covers or whatever it may be, because at the end of the day, it is the same content and it's really not worth paying that extra amount for, because 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the same page quality, the same spine, and the same exact story and book. You're just going to have a different cover. But that does wrap up that point at number 2. So we'll go ahead into number 1, which is my number 1 thing that I wish I knew before I went into collecting. And last but not least, but most importantly, and also probably a tad controversial, is that whales do not exist. I do not mean the animal or the sea creature whales. I mean the legendary white whale when collecting, which is typically in the form of a out-of-print omnibus. I'm here to tell you from experience that playing the long game and being patient is highly beneficial to not only you, but also your wallet, your budget for the month, whatever it may be. Marvel and DC are doing amazing at reprinting these books. A lot of books that have been out of print for extremely long periods of time have been getting reprinted lately, as well as a lot of books that some people have even said they wanted to be reprinted being reprinted as well. So it's not worth paying 200, 300, sometimes even $400 for a $100 to $125 book. It is not worth it. I can guarantee that. And the part from experience that I'm speaking from is that every single whale that I had going into collecting, I have been able to obtain completely naturally through reprints. I didn't have to pay a large amount on the aftermarket or anything along those lines. I just was patient and they eventually actually ended up being reprinted. So please do yourself a favor and just stay patient. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be a week from now, but that book that you want will be reprinted, and you should not be paying double, triple the price on the aftermarket for these books. You will get it, just have to be a little bit patient. But that does wrap up my list. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I truly appreciate you guys tuning in each and every day. I feel like this was a very interesting list once again, and also filled with some topics that I didn't even learn about until I was a year into collecting, especially pertaining to the dust jackets. So I think it's definitely worth kind of speaking about and getting out there into our community, especially for new collectors or new members of the community, because a lot of this is extremely valuable, not only to making our collection the best collection that we could want, but also saving ourselves a buck, especially in a hobby where a lot of these books are $100 to $125, and it's 100% not worth going above and beyond and either getting a product that you don't want or paying extra for a product that's going to come out extremely cheaper in a week. So definitely leave a comment down below. Let me know if there's anything that you feel like I missed. I think that a lot of these are very valuable, and it is something that some people, even in the hobby for a longer period of time, me included, sometimes do forget, but it's still worth mentioning and worth remembering. But if you are not a part of the community, feel free to hit that subscribe button to join the community. Also, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a thumbs up. I would truly appreciate that. And if you also enjoyed today's video, hit that bell icon. That way you can get notified anytime I put out content. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. As always, feel free to add to my list. And of course, as always, stay nerdy.